Hi, I'm Rob Pritchard and I'm the sports editor at Manx Radio. At the time of this Manx Radio Sportscast, just a few days now remain until the scheduled start of the 2026 Manx Grand Prix and Classic TT. Both meetings are due to run alongside each other during a near 2-week period, getting underway on Sunday the 16th of August with the first MGP qualifying sessions. And as that date approaches, members of the community both on and off island are being called upon to offer a helping hand to make sure that racing and practice can go ahead. The Isle of Man TT Marshals is on the lookout for volunteers, both new and experienced, to help run sessions throughout both meetings this month. Sawyer is one of the directors of the Isle of Man TT Marshals and explains where they're in particular need of assistance and what she believes makes marshalling a special thing to be part of.
So I think it's safe to say that we're looking at numbers a little bit ahead of where we were this time last year, which is a little bit ahead of where we were the year before. So we are seeing sort of a steady sort of increase in the people signing on earlier. That said, we are a little bit sketchy in a few places. So in particular, the early part of next week, so from Sunday practice onwards. But again, that kind of fits a usual pattern. We do very much more rely on local marshals. So we're just, here to kind of see if we can encourage people who might be thinking of marshalling to go ahead and sign on so we can see what we've got on where we need them.
And in terms of numbers, percentages, if you like, as well, for those who don't know, could you just explain how different the split is and the dynamic for marshals at something like the Manx Grand Prix and Classic TT compared to the Isle of Man TT races that we have earlier in the summer?
Yeah, so we tend to find that at TT the numbers of visitors are much higher, and that reflects in our marshal split as well. So we tend to have probably about 65-70% are visiting marshals and 35-40% are on island marshals. When it comes to the Manx Grand Prix and the Classic TT, that's pretty much reversed. So we're much more reliant on our local marshals, and the number of marshals out on the course is usually lower. We have our minimum number, so we need at least around 580 for a session to go ahead. Usually throughout the Manx Grand Prix, we're probably looking at about 600, 650 per session, whereas one of the days at TT, I think we had our highest number ever of marshals around the course. It was around 1,200 people out.
And on the subject of, like you say, flipped a little bit for the Manx Grand Prix and Classic TT, a much greater reliance on local marshals. How fair is it then to possibly say that the local community effectively plays a more vital role in running the Manx Grand Prix and Classic TT compared to the TT races?
It's very fair to say, and I think the feeling in general is that it's quite a quieter affair, and it's not quite as big and bold and what have you as the TT. So the local community is really important to make sure it goes ahead. And we've got schemes in place. One of the biggest challenges is attracting marshals and retraining them. So last year we launched the Manx Marshals discount scheme. So people may or may not know that during race periods with a marshal's warrant card, there are a lot of places that will offer discounts and benefits to marshals. So what we've done for the Manx Marshals discount scheme is negotiated with some of those companies and with additional companies that throughout the year they'll accept the card that we'll issue people. So there's kind of something for them all year round. To qualify for that, you need to marshal a minimum of 7 sessions throughout the 2-week period. So that's something that we hope will start to attract a few more as well.
And how well has that scheme been received, would you say, since it's been introduced?
It's been positive. I mean, it would be lovely to be able to offer, ferry discounts and what have you to everybody all year round, but there's a budgetary constraint with that. But this way, it's an opportunity for local businesses who also appreciate what the racing brings to the island and how important our local people are to that. Gives them an opportunity by offering the discounts to show that gratitude, and gives us the opportunity to run the scheme.
You've already mentioned it just before as well. It's not just recruitment of marshals, but retention as well for the long term, not just for one event.
Yeah.
How challenging, in today's climate, and particularly with the focus on the Manx Grand Prix and Classic TT, where there's a greater reliance on local marshals, how challenging is that generally?
The more challenging thing is encouraging people to sign up in the first place. And I think a lot of people have kind of preconceived ideas about what being a marshal means and what they might be expected to do. the majority of marshals I speak to, because obviously I spend a lot of time in the marquee, like in the run-up, sort of giving out warrant cards and packs to marshals. But equally, when I do the IMC training courses, people who've never marshalled before, once they've done 3 sessions, they can come and do that face-to-face course. And the majority of new marshals will say that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not at all like I expected. It's a whole different sort of thing to what people anticipate it being. And I think the big thing is we can't shy away from the fact that the reason we're there is to ensure safety both to riders and to the public, and from time to time we might have to deal with unpleasant situations. But I think it's really important to keep perspective on that as well. The amount of hours of racing and the amount of man hours given, the percentage spent dealing with incidents is very low. And there's so many locations around the course. There's so many opportunities to try different styles of marshalling as well. We've got people that marshal. They will marshal in the same place year on year, event on event, and they will not move. And then we have people that are willing to move around, and they'll try different places until they either find somewhere that they really like, that they settle, or they're happy to be moved like wherever to ensure racing can go ahead. So, for example, Sector 00, that's something that not a lot of people know about. That's where if people aren't sure where they want to marshal, or they're flexible about where to go, they can sign on to Sector 00, and we then in the office can direct them, place them in whichever sector actually needs the marshalling support.
Just 2 more questions. One thing on something you picked up right at the start there. You've already mentioned that there are still some areas and some sessions that need attention. More marshals are needed to make sure those sessions can go ahead. So in terms of numbers and those particular sessions, what can you tell us?
So it's the early part of next week, so the first few practices, it's always tight with them, sort of as people are travelling over or people are kind of getting time off work. The early sessions are always a bit challenging. So certainly Sunday, the contingency sessions for next week are very low. But that's typical. People tend to wait to see if we're going to need to use the contingency sessions before they sign up for them. But what would be really, really helpful to us and the race organisers is if they're able to do them, they sign up for them now so that we can see what the numbers are looking like. So when it comes to decision making, it's based on fact rather than sort of anticipation. The majority of people who've signed up for the other sessions will add on contingency if we need them to, or other people who maybe can't do the evenings will come forward to do afternoons, that type of thing. But that's something that we would really encourage people to do, is if they are able to do contingency sessions, to add them on now. Even if we don't need them, we'd rather know and not need them than be in a decision-making process and looking like we haven't got enough.
And just finally, for anyone who's maybe listening, last minute coming up towards MGP and Classic TT, and just in the coming days, might be interested in marshalling at this year's event, or just wants to find out more information at this point, where can people find out more and potentially get involved?
So probably there's 2 places I'd direct people to at this point. So the first one is our website, which is www.iomttmarshals.com. All of the information is on there. So if someone's new to marshalling, they'd be able to go on, complete a profile, and then within that profile, they'd be able to then do 2 online training modules. They take probably about 15 minutes or so each. Once they've done them, that's enough basic knowledge for somebody to be able to go out on the course as a novice. And as a novice, you'll always be placed with an experienced marshal. You'd never be expected to kind of be left on your own. Alternatively, the marquee at the grandstand is now open from this week, so there'll be somebody there usually from about 9 in the morning. We close most evenings at 6 p.m, but Friday evening we're open till later for pack collection and people coming to collect their warrant cards. So if there's any information that people want, or they just want to kind of come in and maybe we've got facilities for people to do the training and what have you there as well. So yeah, pop in and see us and we'll be more than happy to answer questions.
Thank you for having the stamina to make it to the end of the Manx Radio Sportscast. You're clearly someone who has their eye on the ball at all times. Want to hear more about the latest sporting news across the Isle of Man and much more? Then might I recommend you take the plunge and subscribe to this series or a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so that, in a flash, all of our finest moments take a winner's place on your smartphone. Thank you.